Double bind.
Double bind.
Double bind.
Double bind.
Double bind.
Welcome back to another taping of Double Bind, ladies and gentlemen. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I'm getting tongue-tied as always. I can never say this right. I am your guest, Springle. I am your host, Springle. Something's wrong. I need some coffee. Bugs, help me out. We've got our co-host, Boogs, in house. We've got Snead in house. And brand new to the Double Bind family, we have Christina from ATL. Think of this as the roundtable discussion. Let's start with Boogs and his particular topic that he wanted to address. Yeah, take it away, Boogs.
Yeah, let's just jump right in. The first hot topic I want to discuss is the Fresh Prince reunion, 30 years in the making. And I'm sure you guys have seen it. I'm sure a lot of our listeners have seen it because it was huge in Black popular culture. And it took place in the last couple of weeks on HBO Max. And I thought it was really good. There was a lot of elements of nostalgia for me as I grew up watching the show. In the midst of nostalgia, there was also an element of confusion with Aunt Viv. You know, we didn't know what happened, and it finally came out what really happened. A reconciliation between the original Aunt Viv, which was played by Janet Hubert, took place on the show. Subsequently, after there was a red table talk where Will sat down with her for a 30-minute red table talk to talk about what role he played. And he actually took accountability for the end of Janet Hubert's career. Because we all have those relationships that we may or may not have reconciled. And how does that change us? Do we stand in the face of forgiveness, or do we walk away and, it takes 30 years like it took Will?
How many years was it? Was it 27 years or 17?
Yeah, 27 or 28 years.
Gotcha. Christina, did you have any thoughts on like that reconciliation, dark skin and Viv and Will?
I thought an apology was nice. It was good in that they had the opportunity to talk and reconcile their differences. But at the end of the day, apology doesn't make up for 30 years worth of career. Will Smith has become the go-to Black guy in Hollywood. When we speak of Aunt Viv, it's in past tense.
It's a classic case of somebody who, because I was watching it and I'm just like, really? Like it took you 27 years just to say that? You could have said that a long time ago. Sorry, or we're good, or I didn't know that happened to you, or wow, I didn't know. That's not enough.
Exactly.
I mean, she pointed out that she's a dark-skinned woman in Hollywood, and you labeled her a difficult woman. On the darker scale of actors and actresses, it is very, very hard to get, especially in that era. So, no, I don't think it was enough. I don't think it was genuine. I just think that it was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to do this, for the camera because I may have had some things going on in my life and I'm trying to revive myself as a good, caring guy. And I think he said that he wants to help others and heal the world. And he has this person whose career he had a hand in destroying. He didn't want not to reconcile with her. And I was just like, blah, blah, blah.
Christina, it's interesting that you say that because when he was apologizing to her, he was listening. She looked at him and she said at one point, I couldn't get a job. I couldn't work anywhere. I lost my house. My marriage ended. I had 2 young children. And she just was talking about, I guess, 27 years of being without, because she was a classically trained dancer before and she couldn't get any work. And I was like, that's not something I thought of until I actually heard her say it. He said to her, you wouldn't know that. And she goes, yeah, of course you wouldn't. Like,
yeah, you're busy making all that money.
You're busy being a superstar at 21. You're not thinking about, because at the time he's 21, she was 34. And, she said, you're looking at me as this older woman who may or may not have it together. But after I'm gone off the show, you skyrocket. And then you just see me going on, various news outlets and, quote, bashing you. But it's really coming from a place of hurt because she can't work.
Yeah. Yeah. Work is everything. Work is survival. Work is your home, your kids, your food. That's everything. And, I just don't feel like an apology was enough.
So, Snead, I know when we were talking while you were watching, you weren't as moved. Did you feel like the whole episode in itself, aside from just the Aunt Viv scenario or conversation between Will and Janet Hubert, do you feel like it was not authentic? It wasn't genuine? Do you feel like they were just playing for the camera just to kind of create another special? Or did it actually feel like it was organic and authentic and genuine?
Well, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but for this particular segment of this reunion,
did it come off like he was kind of more concerned with his name versus actually helping her? Is that what you're saying? It kind of felt like that?
I think it was more, I don't think it was really about her. I think it was more about his brand and the projection that he wants to put out into the world. Because just like, honestly, did he really ask any questions? Did he really seem sincere? Did he really probe? Like, what I always tell you, Boogs? What was the hashtag?
Hashtag press him.
Press him. Like, I mean, there was nothing. It was just like, it was really, really basic and kind of flat to me. I'm just like, well, this stuff that you're saying now, you could have said that a long time ago. There was no weight behind it, in my opinion. I know Boogs is going to disagree, and that's okay. But there's, but it just, to me, it wasn't, honestly.
I'm going to disagree solely because he said he could not do the 30-year anniversary, 27, whatever, without the original Aunt Viv. And if it wasn't honest and sincere, he would have done it without her. So keep in mind, he's in his bubble. He's been in that bubble for 30 years. Yes, he probably could have apologized to her before that, but she's done a lot of press attacking him and his family. So when he hears that in the year 10, in year 20, in year 25, that's not necessarily going to make him want to extend the olive branch. Maybe it was growing inside, but when he keeps hearing these clips and these sound bites of what she's been saying, it's going to make him not want to do that. And that part I understand. Sorry, Christina, you can get me now.
Get him, Christina, get him.
Okay, I'm glad you're ready. So, this with him and with Aunt Viv kind of restarted by him using her image without her permission for the reunion. And she had this, like, she blasted, she read her filth for it. And I think rightfully so. It was profit from her image.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Even after he had destroyed her. Yeah, I gotta send it to you. He destroyed her career and then wanted to use her image for, again, his own benefit. And Aunt Viv, she had her fair shit talk, but so did Will. There was an even back and forth with it. At the time frame for Will to be a young man, it was just like, she's got so much on you. I understand you've got this fame. I understand you're young and you're in this career and that you're bustling and moving, but do you not think that she's busting her own ass? Black women, we have to give so much more just to get crumbs. She was Juilliard trained, y'all. She went to school for this. She trained for this. She dedicated her life to this. And she had her career derailed by someone younger than her. I just think it was so petty. Even if it comes to you not liking her, yes. I don't think he had to slander her name. And he knew what he was doing. Will Smith, he's a young Black man. He himself knows how hard it is to make it to Hollywood alone, how hard it is to be represented in Hollywood. And he knows it's 10 times harder for her as a woman, 10 times harder for her as a dark-skinned woman. And then to, like she said, the kiss of death, to call her difficult to work with. What else was she supposed to do but talk shit? Because that's the only way she's making money now, by giving her side of the story.
Yeah.
He did say in the interview in the conversation with her that he was fearful. And so it made me think about us Black people in certain workspaces where we kind of have to please the higher ups. And we don't want to offend the higher ups. So sometimes, even if we see something negative or something that's wrong that's happening in the workplace, we'll keep our mouth shut because we want to keep our jobs.
Yeah.
So in my head, Christina, when you said he knew what he was doing, maybe to some degree, I believe he may have known, but at the same time, I think from what he said to me, it sounded like his focus was just wrapped up in his ego and just his career and what he wanted to do. And he's the star. And that was that. Yeah.
Yes, because she highlighted he did not demonstrate anything close to professionalism. He was loud. He was obnoxious. He would play his music. He would be rapping. And she's a professional. So she would come on set, have her lines ready, be ready for, for the shoot of the day. And he would just be, playing his rap music. And she probably, as a grown woman, you're going to check the young person on set or at work and say, hey, this is not the time or the place for right now. We're actually, preparing to do a scene. And if Will's cracking jokes, which I hear he used to do it all the time, that probably didn't sit well with her. And because he's the star, and again, it plays into his ego, like you said, he's probably sitting there saying, who are you talking to, lady? Like, this is my show.
I can see that.
So I can see how the contention would build.
So in terms of reconciliation, I'm sure most of us have experienced some type of relationship, whether it's a familial, intimate, work-related, where we may not have ended our relationship with a particular person on a good note. How much time do you think is too much time that a person can come back into your life and try to apologize and expect to be received? Like,
I think it's a case by case situation and who the individual is. There are some people who I could care less. I don't need you to say anything to me.
Go home.
Go buzz off. But then there are people who you really had a genuine connection with, and for whatever reason, something happened, something changed or whatever, and you guys had a falling out and you never speak. Those are the types of situations that, I would welcome if they ever were to present themselves to me, which they really don't. So I'm still waiting.
I was gonna say, what you and your attitude, ain't nobody coming. Everybody would be too scared to come back and apologize to you. Bugs, what do you think? Like, can it be too little, too late?
Don't do nothing that you have to apologize for. How about that?
Is that for me? Bugs, do you think at some point it might be just too little, too late?
I agree with Gene's sentiments, and I'm going to piggyback on them because I think essentially there are just some relationships that are just word there for the season. The season is past, and I'm good and they're good. I'm living my life over there. They are over here. And that's fine. I mean, I think for the relationships that may have had a little bit more value and for whatever reason, the train derailed and there is a chance of reconciliation, I think if it does take place, timing is perfect. It can't be forced. If it does come to the time where you are sitting with that person and you get a chance to reconcile, I think both parties need to definitely have an open mind. And, you would have to acknowledge the pain and the feelings that they're saying you inflicted on them and vice versa. Like, you have to have equal speaking parts. You can't be trying to talk over the other and force your hurt on them. And it just has to be a conversation, not just with an apology, but it has to have some type of action statement as well. Like, I hear what you said. I didn't realize that going forward, this is how I live my life based on demise of our relationship. Just whatever, just something to leave the person. You can leave the conversation thinking, wow, that person has grown.
And that person's feeling heard and
that person is different. That person has learned from their mistakes. Now, we don't have to be friends again, but it would be nice to walk away knowing that each party has grown from that experience.
So I was talking to a friend of ours, a friend to the show, and she and I were discussing what Will can do to kind of rectify the situation. And I said that he should use his clout in Hollywood and see if he can secure, she's worked after, but not as much as she should, based on her training and her experience. But I was saying that Will should actually find some type of way to make space for her to work some more, either make some calls, or do you guys think he should do that type of thing? Or should it be about monetary payment, like send her a little check in the background, side lady, to kind of compensate for all the work she's lost? Christina?
I think it should be up to Janet. I think it should really be up to her what kind of compensation she wants, because at this point, I think she deserves it. An apology and reconciliation is great, and I think it's deserved. And depending on the situation and how close you are to the person, it can come at at different time frames. 30 years is way too long for me. But but I just think that an apology is nice. And to settle your differences is nice. But an apology does not give her back what she's lost. It only acknowledges it. And I just think that acknowledgement isn't enough. We can all say, yes, this has happened. We know it's happened. We know why it's happened. But what are you going to do about it? If you're going to be man enough to apologize, you need to be man enough to compensate her. And at this point, you know, Will Smith is a millionaire. He's got a check, he's got a wallet, and however she wants to be compensated within reasonable demands, I think he can and should do it.
Amen. Run her that bag.
I literally got the impression that she wanted to say so much more. I mean, you could see the pain in her face, like, because she looked to me like she was waiting for him to really own what happened, own his contribution to what happened. For me, just cut her a check, make some calls, do whatever you need to do to reinstate that lady's life.
Will Smith, when they were kind of talking about everything that happened, his issue with her really kind of seemed like it was just chastisement. You know, it just seemed like she was correcting him on things that he needed to be corrected about. And for me, it just kind of sounds like he had an inferiority complex. And with that, he chose to derail her for it. I'm glad he gave her an apology, but I don't really think Aunt Viv is the only one who was owed an apology. I think he owes an apology to every little Black girl who saw herself in her. Even today, you know, we're seeing ourselves in the media, we're seeing ourselves in movies and this, that, and the fourth. But especially for this time, late, early 90s, we were seeing, if we saw ourselves, it was some high yellow, light-skinned woman. And there's nothing wrong with that. But colorism exists and it has to be acknowledged. And for her to get where she was and then be off the scope in the middle of nowhere, we don't even know what happened. It kind of, for me, just told every little Black girl that she was replaceable.
Wow. Amen.
You know, that's funny. That's coming from you, Christina, because you are on the lighter end of the spectrum. You're not the lightest, but you are definitely, I would consider you on the lighter end of the spectrum. And that's interesting that you acknowledge that, because I think colorism, you know, which we've talked about briefly in self-love and beauty and Black beauty episodes. For me, it blows my mind when someone of your skin tone acknowledges that there is colorism, because I think a lot of times people feel like, oh, certain things, if they don't deal with it personally, it's like it doesn't exist.
I can't per se say that I have experienced colorism on in a bold way, but I've seen it, I've experienced it, and I've benefited from it. I can definitely say I've benefited from colorism. And it makes me feel a certain way to know that the only reason I was in the position that I was in was because I was lighter than another sister.
We need more females, women, excuse me. Like, yeah, I gotta stop saying females. It's kind of sexist. Does that sound sexist when I say that? Like,
it is. I hate it. Like, my God.
My bad.
I know where I fall in biology.
My bad. We gonna have to work on alleviating that out of our vocabulary. Boogs, I can smell you trying to say something. Go ahead.
Christina's on the money with colorism, and the original Aunt Viv being representation for millions and millions of Black girls, not only in America, across the world. Remember, Neil, I was watching Fresh Prince when I was in England living. So that representation stretched so far, and you don't realize the damage that it does until it's taken away. So I'm just sitting here listening to what Christina's saying, and I really just echoing her thoughts. I literally just had an aha moment. Yeah, growing up, who was dark-skinned and a woman on television in my living room every day who wasn't playing a
hood rat? You can say it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, in my family living room growing up with my sisters, right? Like that Aunt Viv was that dark-skinned. She was that girl. She could dance her ass off, and she was brilliant, and she was a lawyer.
And she was willing to pull her earrings off if somebody needed their ass hooked.
Right. She had duality.
Right.
And her $5,000. Right. So she
embodied what a lot of our girls should see on television. So yeah, I'm having an aha moment.
I will say I was moved when the two Aunt Vivs met each other with no animosity, and it felt genuine. Yeah,
I couldn't believe that they never met before. Well, I could believe it, I guess. Makes sense.
Yeah, that was kind
just
of
thinking
that
like,
was
oh
a
my God,
highlight
they're
for
like
me.
older women and they've never met.
That was definitely a highlight for me.
But did you notice when the original Aunt Viv, Janet Hubert, came in, Alfonso was not part of that scene, that set? He was not seen?
He wasn't?
Did you guys? Nope.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't there.
Well, we could get into that, but we've heard some, preferential stories about his preferences. We'll leave it as that. We're not gonna get into that. And I hate the fact that this dude is Trinidadian, and he's fallen into that what I consider Hollywood mindset. But it is what it is. He's been there since he's a child. So, all right, well, cool. I think we can all agree that definitely dark-skinned Aunt Viv needs to be compensated, whether it's monetary.
Absolutely.
Look, can I just say this?
Sure.
Can I just say this before we move on to the next topic? And please don't judge me, y'all. Please don't judge
Guilty.
me. Let me just say this. One thing that I can take away from watching this reunion or whatever is to really fully grasp and understand the significance of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Let me say this to you. I cannot honestly say that I had no idea that this show was this big.
Me neither.
I didn't.
Really?
Really, really, really. I was listen, no, don't judge me, but I was a Beverly Hills 90210
Oh my God.
kind of hoe in a Melrose Place person. So don't, so I've seen episodes. There are key episodes that they even talked about in this reunion that I was like, yes, I remember that, this, that, and the third, but I was not one of those people. I just didn't know. And I feel a little jaded, a little bit. So I think because it's just like, I was like, wow, I was really in awe over the influence and the success of it. And I was just like, I had no idea. I really had no idea.
I think you could blame that on youth as well.
But I think one of the main reasons why Fresh Prince was as big as it was for the Black community was because it wasn't so typical. It wasn't a show based and rooted in stereotypes. Because, me personally, I've been very blessed in my life. I grew up in a way that I didn't know a lot of struggle. And, I got to praise my mama for that. When I watched a lot of Black television, a lot of it was stuff I couldn't relate to. And then Fresh Prince came on and I was like, okay, a bourgeoisie, whole Black family. I'm with it. I relate. A little preppy, a little bitchy, just in the right way. And it was one of those shows that really just made me smile because it was something I could see myself in. And then it wasn't stereotypical.
Like that. Well, it's funny. I mean, obviously I didn't grow up in the bourgeoisie way, but it's funny you say that. Growing up in inner city Brooklyn, even though it is Brooklyn, people have no clue back then. I mean, they do now, hence the reason it's the most gentrified county in the goddamn United States. But Will Smith's character's nerdiness resonated with me because I was more of a nerd than not. So the second topic we wanted to talk about, so this is speaking of Black people in Decorum, hood and not hood.
Good segue.
So Boogs, if I'm not mistaken, this was in Dallas, and this was a restaurant, a Black-owned restaurant, where the owner has gone viral due to a video of him more or less berating the patrons about their behavior in the restaurant. And I read a lot of the comments.
Yeah, can we roll the video? The video is playing.
I invested a lot of money into buying this building, into developing this concept so Black people can have somewhere nice to go to, okay? Somewhere where we can feel good about ourselves as a... Come on! Stop the music, please! Somewhere where our people can feel good about ourselves as a culture, okay? Yeah. No, real talk. And so all this twerking and shit, take it to Prime, take it to Pink, don't bring it here because we're a restaurant. And so beyond that, 75% of my customers are ladies. And I want men to show respect for themselves for how they carry themselves here. So how can I tell the men to respect themselves and you guys are twerking on glass here? If you want to do it, get the fuck out of my restaurant. Because I did it for our people and I did it for our culture. So don't do it now. Don't do it again. I don't want to hear it. If you don't like it, get out because I don't need your money. I need to provide something for my people. And don't do it again. Thank you.
Yeah, and so that was him cursing those people out. And a lot of people are like, oh, he shouldn't talk to customers like that. He should have more respect. But I also saw a video of him, the same owner, approaching that table. There's no sound on it, but you can read the body language. And when a Black person put their hands together in that prayer gesture, that's that please don't let me go off gesture. I'm trying my best not to go off on you.
I'm restraining myself.
Exactly. And so I guess he talked to the table several times and they didn't respect him because these young ladies were on the chairs twerking. And I guess he wanted a certain atmosphere, a certain ambiance. So a lot of people are disagreeing with the fact that he went off publicly. And some people are saying he was wrong. What do you guys think about that?
I personally think that if this gentleman wanted his atmosphere to be classy, he should have set his atmosphere up to be classy. In the video, all I'm hearing is trap music, alive.
Throw that ass in a circle.
Exactly. Throw that ass in a circle, and when she throw it back, you mad.
Boom.
So I just thought everything was really just a hyperbole as well as real hypocritical. He didn't set his atmosphere up for the behavior that he wanted. When you want people to act a certain way, you create an environment for them to act the way you want them to. And that's where you start, watching this video, and it has a club-like feel. Just from what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, and not even from the girls, I'm hearing like Homie was telling the DJ, a live DJ, to cut the music. Like, sir, if you don't want a club atmosphere, don't create one.
Boogs, I heard you snapping fingers with Christina.
Yeah, because Christina's on the money. And I mean, there's two wrongs here. There are just two wrongs, and you can't miss them. The customer who's twerking on the furniture, she's wrong. And she's lacking respect to be outside in a public establishment and feeling like she can get on the furniture and twerk. Now, if she was on the ground twerking, that music's playing, get it. But you shouldn't be climbing on people's furniture. That's the first thing you learn as a child. Don't go to somebody's house and climb their furniture.
Absolutely.
She's wrong for that. He is wrong. The piece of the video that went viral is him chastising the entire restaurant. Not gonna say what he said verbatim. You just heard the video, but the final piece of what he said, I don't need your money. That's business owner suicide. And subsequently, he's written a bunch of statements on Instagram and Facebook, apologizing, but then not apologizing and saying what he wants better for Black people, but then saying, like, it's just a conundrum of all sorts. But there's been other businesses that have came forward and they've tried to capitalize off this. And they've been releasing videos and statements on their blogs and their social media handles saying, you can twerk at our restaurant. Come here and dance.
Snead, please be on my side on this. Please be on my side.
I'm just going to say this. Okay. Christina, I partially agree with what you're saying about setting the atmosphere and trying to create the type of vibe that you want based upon your music. You playing trap music and you have a certain clientele coming in, it's automatic that you already get a feel for the people that are coming in, the patrons that are coming into your restaurant. If you playing that trap music and you see, some folks that may cut up a little bit, maybe you need to go to the DJ and say, hey, you know what? I just need you to pull it back just a little bit, or play one or two songs here, but don't play like a whole entire set for them to lose their minds. Mm-hmm. Because honestly, I don't care what kind of music you playing in a restaurant. I don't want somebody twerking and shaking their ass next to my damn pancakes. I'm not interested. No.
Hallelujah.
Hell, no. I totally agree with you. So I agree with the statement. There were two wrongs. I definitely agree with that. Me, had I been sitting next to this table, I wouldn't want twerk air in my face. But and I do agree that the decorum that the women were showing was inappropriate for the setting. Had I been the restaurant owner, I definitely would have wanted them to leave my establishment. But I would have went about it differently. I would have just let these ladies know, especially on the third, fourth time. There's only one time you need to say something for somebody to understand. I just really feel like he could have gone about it differently and not have included the entire restaurant.
Let me say this to you. If
Okay, I don't care. Okay,
twerking. Hold on. No. If they're twerking on the furniture in a restaurant in a public place, you really think that one time was okay? We're gonna behave?
No.
Hell no. They don't have no respect. They don't have no, because you're gonna have to reiterate. And at that point, he was frustrated because I'm pretty sure. I'm sure that he them.
Hold on. Let me just throw this in real quick to piggyback off of what Snead is saying. And this is exactly how I feel, because I am kind of conflicted. I do believe music has energy and it will create a certain ambiance and a certain vibe. And if you want a certain type of atmosphere, then you have to create it. I do believe the DJ should have been playing music that was more conducive to just chilling and eating.
Yeah, because she can't twerk to Luther Vandross.
I'm also saying that there are videos of this man. He wasn't trying to embarrass them publicly. There are videos of this man going to them one-on-one to this table directly and speaking to them. And again, you can see the body language. He's being very much respectful, if not almost pleadingly trying to get these people to act a certain way. And I would have, but after the second time, if you're not acting right, I would have got my security to get you out. Maybe he doesn't have security because it's a restaurant.
And that's what I'm saying. All he has to do is get security and escort these women out. I'm not saying they belonged in the establishment, especially with the behavior they were demonstrating. But for him to be a business owner and then talk to the entire restaurant and basically try and chastise them as children to the entire restaurant,
they're acting like children,
and include the restaurant in it, I just thought was...
Yeah, Neil. I think what you're missing with this is not a parent. This is a business owner. He's supposed to traffic in professionalism.
But did he not do that the first two times?
Exactly.
Did he not? But
exactly.
Whoa.
This is what you're missing.
Higher lack of professionalism on his part.
Okay, you're saying he trafficked in business, in professionalism and customer service the first two times, but the third time he's allowed not to? No, baby.
That's what I'm
it's
hearing.
all or nothing.
At that point, he's over it. He's a human being like anybody else.
And bump
No.
that.
He's a human being, but he's also a business owner and has to conduct himself as one at all times, regardless of how he feels, regardless of how frustrated he is, regardless if he's talked to them 3 times, 5 times, 100 times. He could have been professional. He's demanding class from these ladies, but does not address.
He's not exhibiting class. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I'm sorry. I'm team owner. Team owner of the restaurant. It's just. To me,
well, you know what?
What?
You know what? So that says a lot. Then, if you yourself own a restaurant, I'm not going.
No, don't go. Especially if you're gonna cut up, act like you ain't got no damn
don't
sense.
show up to my shit if you can't conduct yourself.
Hold on, I'm a little confused, Bug. How on one breath can you say that you don't want you're taught not to climb on people's furniture, but you want someone to talk to you in a respectful manner because you're climbing on their furniture? And let me just say this too. You want to talk about. Hold on. You want to talk about business, murder, suicide? What if somebody had fell and hit their head on the floor and he has a legal situation? Are we going to talk about business, murder, suicide on that point?
Casino's like home insurance. That's
twice.
I get it. Now I get it. I totally understand. You can be right in your reasoning and be wrong in your action.
I agree.
And then with me, it wasn't even like him addressing them. It was the sexist comments that came afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
The whole, how can we expect men to respect themselves if y'all aren't? My God, what?
Bitch, what?
What?
Bitch, what?
But I mean, you know what? I'm gonna back away from that because sexism exists in every aspect. Men actually run the world. I hate to say it, but they do. And the male ego.
It's either way he said it, it was wrong. No woman is responsible for a man's actions. If she's twerking on the wall, twerking on the floor, twerking on the chairs, twerking on the damn table, I'm not responsible for a man. And she's not responsible if a man gets up and says something to her that's totally sexist, disrespectful, and misogynistic. To say, get off my table, get off my furniture, that's all fine and dandy.
Wait a minute, Christina, I thought he was... Sorry, Mia. I thought he said that, Christina, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood what he said in the clip. I thought he was saying, how can I expect men to respect the lady?
Well, that's essentially what he was saying. He didn't say it in those words, but that's what he was saying.
So it was this conundrum of being responsible for other men's behavior. And that's something, just as a woman, that women get a lot. There is this notion that a woman is, how she keeps herself is how a man is supposed to treat her. If I'm in a damn mini skirt with everything out, I expect the same respect if I'm in a suit versus
but
a hoodie.
you're not going to get that though. You're not going, because again, it's so related to a very deeper conversation that I was talking to Boogs and Snead about, which is branding and how you're received. Sometimes, yes, like what you were saying earlier, Christina, in terms of the reasoning, but the action are different. So yeah, you might want to look sexy and feel sexy, quote unquote, as a woman. But if you are going into, an environment which is predominantly male, and I'm going to be blunt, you got your titties out, like high cleavage showing, and then you got a super short miniskirt. Men naturally are in visual, so they're going to react to that. They're going to read that as being overtly sexual. So twerking for me, when I see twerking, honestly, some people be like, "Oh, it's African. That's where we got it from." I look at the African dancing of twerking, like the more traditional type. Like they call mapuka and all these variants, versus the African-American twerking, it is very different. One is sexual, which is the African-American one. That's what I think. And then one is sensual. And so to me, it can also, even dancing in itself can create an atmosphere, just like music can create an atmosphere. So I feel like, it's a fine line between sort of protecting yourself versus inviting the wrong thing. You may not want to, but if you're not careful, you can invite the wrong.
That's where we kind of disagree with the word invitation. With African twerking and American twerking, they are different, but there's a culture difference as well. And especially here in America, where the sexualization of Black women is so prominent, everything we do seems to be sexualized. And it comes to a point of whether I'm feeling sexy, whether I'm feeling casual, whether I'm feeling any kind of way, it's fine. And men, of course, you guys are visual creatures. If I walk into a male-dominated space and I am wearing very sexual clothing, I'm expecting you guys to look. There's an expectation of and an assumption of what's going to happen. But there's a manner in which you control yourself. Your eyes are not attached to your mouth. Your eyes are not attached to your hands. And whether you have your thoughts in your visualization, it doesn't mean that you can come and voice those to me.
But do you agree that subliminal messages can be sent and received, whether it's correct or not? Do you believe that someone can present themselves in a certain way and be received completely opposite? Is that a possibility of you walking out of the house with that super short mini skirt and that sheer top with your nipples showing? I'm just throwing you in a little extra sort of scenario, not, obviously not you, but do you believe that in itself may send a message to some men? That's an invitation that you might be hypersexual. And so it's an invitation. He's reading it subliminally as an invitation to initiate some kind of contact with you. Do you believe that's possible or no?
So you know what they say about assuming, it makes it ass.
Okay.
But why can't the initiation of contact be a conversation?
Okay, it can be a conversation, but see, it's all about the approach.
Men are not conversational in that aspect. Men are visual, so they get their visual messages.
Okay, wait, Neil, men are not what?
I did agree. I'm not disagreeing.
No, I'm saying is
you just
said, no, I'm going back on you.
Men are more action oriented. So I think when it comes to conversation is a method and a technique used to get women in bed.
Okay, so if I show up with my nipples and my mini skirt, and you want to approach me and I tell you I don't want to be approached, your next response needs to be walking away and just looking. Correct. But some dudes may not, they might be like, nah, she's just playing. Well, some dudes need some training. Some dudes need some training and some better thinking because, whether I want to be seen or not, it doesn't mean that you get to talk to me any kind of way. And it doesn't mean that you can approach me any kind of way. And in some instances, there's nothing wrong with an approach. But if I communicate to you that I don't want anything from you and you continue trying, there's nothing but harassment from there.
Gotcha. I don't disagree.
And then there comes this notion of women only being how you see them in this instance. When I go to the club versus when I show up for a business meeting, I'm the same person, but I'm looking and acting different. We're Black. We all know what it is to code switch. We all know what it is to change your behavior and your attitude in the setting you're in. Me personally, I'm a world traveler. I'm a scholar. I got 2 businesses. I'm an avid reader. And I also know how to be elegant. I can ballroom dance and go twerk in a club. I'm not one person in one instance. And there has to be a level of respect for knowing that a person is not the same in every setting.
So I'm glad you said that really quickly. So taking it back to the restaurant, why is it so hard for those young ladies to have been not understand that in the context of what you just said, like knowing, okay, this is a restaurant, just here to eat, enjoy a meal and leave versus turn it into a club. I understand the music is a club atmosphere. I've been to, Snead, you and I have been to Soko. Soko blasts music loud. Soko is, for those who may not know, that's Kenya. No, Soko is Kenya from Real Housewives. They're her husband. He owns it. Yeah.
I was so glad you brought that up. I was going to use the same example.
Wait, Soko is
no
in
different.
Manhattan?
It's in Brooklyn on Myrtle Ave.
Oh, I've been there.
It's no different from the setting on that clip. It's loud. It's very clubby like, but you see people dancing, but you don't see people climbing on furniture. And then when they're told to stop, they continue to do it. If that's what happened, I don't know. I didn't see any.
No. There's actual video of him speaking to them prior to him berating the whole.
And that's why I'm not mad at him as a person who wanted them to stop the behavior they were demonstrating. And I'm not saying that these ladies were right in their behavior. They were not. But this, to me, really isn't about these ladies. It's not about them. This is about this man who addressed his entire restaurant and addressed his entire business and then told everybody, I don't need your money. F you guys, I don't care. And then what got me was the hypocrisy about, I did this for my people. I did this for my culture. I wanted you guys to be able to come here and be yourselves. I wanted you guys to come here and be comfortable. I want you guys to come here and do this, that, and the third. And I'm just like, sir, if we're here doing this, that, and the third, then why are you speaking?
Because you're climbing on my furniture. You are grown folks crawling on my furniture.
Climbing on the furniture is wrong. Everything that these ladies demonstrated was not proper decorum for what he wanted, especially if he spoke to them more than once. But I'm just saying, as a business owner, he should have went about this differently. He should have just gotten security, said, I spoke to you guys 3-4 times. I'm not going to speak to you again. I'm going to handle this situation with you guys privately, and I'm not going to disturb the rest of my guests.
All right, Christina, I agree with you on that. Okay, I will say, yes, there were other avenues that he could have taken to make sure that this was handled very, very differently. But I honestly believe at that point, he was frustrated. And he let his frustration get the better of him and he said some stuff as it's happened to all of us. He let his frustration get the better of him. And he said some things that
owners of restaurants
kind of wasn't, necessary and wasn't cool. So I agree with you on that. He should have handled it differently. Do I disagree with what he said and his intent?
Absolutely not.
But his execution was different. Yeah.
I would agree with that. I would agree with what you're saying, Patty, in his apology statement. It wasn't even an apology. In his statement that he released after on Facebook, if he apologized for the way in which he delivered his message, I would agree with you.
What did he say? What did he say in his apology? Do we have a clip of that?
Basically, he doubled down. He was not apologetic at all.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode. Christina, thank you so much for joining us for the first time. We will definitely be seeing more of you. Boogs, thank you for joining us again. Welcome back, even though it's been 2 weeks. 3 weeks, technically. And then, of course, our master of doom and gloom, Snead. I'm messing with you. I love you to death. But thank you guys for tuning in. And of course, tune in next week. And you can find us on multiple streaming platforms, Anchor FM, iTunes, YouTube, as well as others. And check us out on those streaming platforms. Feel free to like, subscribe, and tune in next week. And if you are a fan of natural and organic body products, feel free to check out Christina's Blood and Honey skincare line, and you can find her at blood-honeyskincare.com, or you can check her out on IG at blood.x.honey. Support a Black business.